Heinz Kindergartner was the first of the 3 overseas riders to make it into the top 10. A typical Lesotho sunrise greeted the bike competitors early the following morning for the start of the first racing section. Last year's joint winner, Jeremy Davies, led away the field, and ahead of them lay 491 kilometers of tough racing over varying terrain. It was going to be a tough day. Davies took a heavy fall during the Round the Houses event and hurt a leg muscle. Despite the handicap, the powerful young South African was soon into his stride. Giving chase was Natal Springbok Alfie Cox, who shared the honours with Davies in last year's route. Austrian Heinz Kindergartner was also going well in the early stages and was leading the overseas contingent. Local hopes were pinned squarely on Lesotho-based Patrick Andrews on the works Winston Yamaha competing in the 250 class. A top 5 finish last year and local knowledge helped elevate Andrews to being among the pre-race favourites. Italian Fabio Fasola had Andrews in his sights, but in turn was being chased hard by the ultra-consistent ERROL DALTON on the Bird Paradise Kawasaki. A good dice was developing between Richard Manning and Kevin DuPont, who were being chased by Willie Ireland, who was quickly making up time after running into mechanical problems in the Round the Houses section. In the four-wheel category, Klaus Degener and Jeff Bell had moved into an early lead in the Duckham's Chenoweth. Conditions were hot and dusty, playing into the hands of the space frame crews. Former Australian Robin Yates and Nardus Oberts were also going well in the Durex Raceco and had many experts who tipped them as potential winners. With 20 years of roof experience behind him, Richard Schilling was still looking for his first victory. Partnered by former South African champion Fred Levesque, Schilling was going along steadily. Philip Milan and Richard Leake in the turbo Toyota Hilux were the first of the Bucky Brigade. In typical fashion, the pair were charging hard in what is an ultra-quick vehicle. The highly experienced Api Reineke and Lucas Dreyer were making good time in their BP Nissan Safari. The Nissan is in its 9th year of competition and is getting a bit long in the tooth. Reineke and Dreyer were coming under pressure from veteran Harry Roscoe in the Protea playing card Raceco. Back for the bikes, the duel out front was still between firm friends and arch rivals Jeremy Davies and Alfie Cox. With his injured leg proving not to be too much of a handicap, Davies held a tenuous lead over Cox. The two South Africans were holding off Heinz Kindergartner, who was gamely riding with a badly gashed left arm after a heavy tumble. Patrick Andrews had the bit between his teeth and was rapidly closing in on the Austrian. American FRITZ KADELEC on the BT Racing Honda was having a good run and was well up with the leading bunch. Competitors had to put up with some tough conditions, and Hilton Hayward gingerly tackled a section strewn with rocks. Overseas rider Christoph Artiger found the going a little tougher. He eventually decided to abandon ship. Klaus Kindergartner, younger brother of Heinz, also decided to forsake horsepower for a little muscle power. Ian Gregg on bike number 28 was also in a spot of bother. Hilton Schwartz appeared to be coping well enough, but he too then found it difficult to stay upright. With the piece in the Lesotho countryside shattered by high-powered engines, Klaus Degener and Jeff Bell were still out front in the four-wheel category. Robin Yates and Nardus Oberts were also looking good, with no hint of problems yet to come. Richard Schilling and Fred Levesque in the Motortech Chilliwack were also in good shape, although they lost time through 2 punctures. A puncture also slowed Springbok Bucks Modelman Carolyn and Kenny Bryanston Ranger Skoldhammer in the Natal Earthworks Raceco, while John Lambert and Jack Purchase in the Digidor Sandmaster were moving up in Class 8. Ashley Thorne and Pepe Marty were also challenging for Class 8 honours. The rougher sections require a certain amount of circumspection from drivers, and Thorne wasn't taking any chances. As was expected, former South African champions Wilfried Weslow and Dagmar Blankner had taken charge of Class 2 in the Windhoek Light VW. The Lesotho pair are highly experienced campaigners and did not look to be in any trouble. Behind Weslow and Blankner, arch rivals Peter Pomfai and Jan van Beekering were trying to make up time on the class leaders. They were closely followed by the husband and wife team of Arnold and Estelle Mathieu. It was no surprise to see Alfred van Vuren and Piet Pelser ahead in Class 5 in their Toyota Hilux 4x4. The pair have dominated the class recently, although they were to come under pressure from Bill Angus and Derek Weatherall in a similar work centre bakkie. In the bike section, Alfie Cox had moved into the lead, ahead of the Winston Yamaha of Patrick Andrews and the lubrication equipment KTM ridden by Jeremy Davies. Davies was fighting back, and with the first section drawing to a close, rapidly hauled in Andrews on a rough stretch. After 427 grueling kilometers, Klaus Degener and Jeff Bell were first on the road in the four-wheel section, but there was yet to be drama for the team. The Durex Raceco in the hands of Robin Yates and Nardus Albert was still up with the front-runners, despite an eventful day which included a puncture, a short surgeon off the route, and radiator problems. FRITZ KADELEC was a lonely fourth in the bike section. The American had a four-wheel monster in the shape of the Carolyn Shoulderhammer car, hot on his heels, as they negotiated some of Lesotho's rocks. Philip Malone had a way for the cameraman with a Works Toyota Hilux 4x4 he shared with Richard Leek, leading Class 6. There were times when it got a bit confusing with cars, bakkies and bikes approaching from all directions. At the end of the first section, Davies had forced his way back into the bike lead. Cox was second with Andrews third. Klaus Degener and Jeff Bell crossed the line first in the car section, but picked up a 1-hour penalty for missing a marshal point and dropped to 8th spot. An unhappy Degener explains what happened.
It seems right now that we missed a marshal in a section where we scored maybe by 400 meters, and we took the obvious route following Philip Malone. And my feeling is if they put a marshal there, then they put it there as a deliberate catch.
It was a cold morning for the start of the final racing section. Overnight leader Jeremy Davies again led the bike brigade away with plumes of dust over the beautiful Lesotho countryside, a clear indication of the route taken by competitors. Parts of the early morning route were on good dirt surface roads, with riders belting along at speeds of around 160 kilometers an hour. While back at the start, Richard Schilling and Fred Levesque had been elevated to first car away status.
Does it worry you that Degener's way back but going to be charging?
I think it's a big gap he's got to make up. If he gets through, all credit to him. But we did it on the Toyota 1000, and we very much want to do it again today.
With 3 victories this season, a powerful motivating force, Schilling and Levesque were quickly into their stride. But with Robin Yates and Nardus Alberts hot on their trail, and Degener determined to make up the hour he was penalised, it was going to be a long and hot day for Schilling and Levesque. John Lambert and Jack Purchase had been steadily moving up in the field in the ex-Derek Pinoy car and had suddenly emerged as a major threat. There was high drama when German rider Joachim Sauer crashed head-on into a spectator truck. Sauer was picked up by ambulance and later airlifted to hospital with suspected back injuries. The beautiful Lesotho mountains looked tranquil and provided for some magnificent scenery. For Errol Dalton, admiring beautiful scenery was the last thing on his mind as he battled with some brutal tracks. American FRITZ KADELEC was still battling on despite gearbox problems. With Heinz Kindergartner suffering mechanical problems and other overseas riders crashing, KADELEC held on to finish 9th. Willie Ireland was also having a tough day, and when he crashed out of the event, there was plenty of noise from a gallery in the middle of nowhere. Matters were turning out a little better for Richard Manning on the Winston Yamaha. He went on to finish 4th overall and win the 200 class in a tremendous performance. From one kind of horsepower to another kind, as Joe van Altena went around in circles looking for the best route. Joe won't see 50 again, but finished 7th overall and 2nd in class in another typical van Altena display, which saw him teach the youngsters a trick or two. Brian Bontekonen cut a lonely figure in the mountains as he also looked for the best route where there's no road, on his way to 10th overall. Despite engine problems, veteran Harry Roscoe had taken charge of Class 9 in the Protea playing card raceco. Roscoe was to finish 9th overall. Alfred van Vuren and Piet Pelser improvised some additional air cooling for their Toyota Hilux on their way to yet another win in Class 5. Johan and Ferdi Pieterse took Class 10 after a steady and determined drive in the aging Orco. There was late disappointment for Class 4 leaders Stratford Vogt and Corrie Durant. Late in the event, the steering broke on the American-developed Kilo Engineering Toyota, and they were forced to call it a day. There was plenty of excitement at the finish when Richard Schilling and Fred Levesque roared home to take the checkered flag. For Schilling, a dream had come true after 20 years of trying to win the route. Schilling and Levesque looked exhausted as they cracked open the bubbly. In a great performance, John Lambert and Jack Purchase came through to take 2nd ahead of Philip Malan and Richard Leek. Needless to say, Schilling was delighted with his first roof win.
Were you ever passed today?
No, I think that was the most difficult thing today. The strain of not only having to drive as quickly, but mentally to pace yourself. Because, you know, both Bix and Robin and Klaus are very quick and you don't know how far you're ahead. So you just got to keep on pushing.
There was drama in the bike category when Jeremy Davies got lost on the final section. This left a delighted Alfie Cox a comfortable winner, although he is showing the strain of 3 days of racing in the toughest possible conditions.
What a bikes, well done, Alf.
It was a long and hard ride, and the marking was very bad, and you could have thrown the whole race away by getting lost. Like this morning, Jeremy had a bit of a lead on us, and he stopped for some reason or other, and I got a lead, and I was quite a way ahead, and took a wrong slot. There was a guy parked the car on the marker on a turn, and he didn't even show me the right way, and I got lost, and Patrick and Jeremy passed me again. And a little while longer they got lost. And I got a lucky break, and I've just been going as hard as I can.
The hapless Davies had to be content with third place behind local hero Patrick Andrews, with the star, the Sutu Sun Roof of Africa, again living up to its reputation as one of the toughest events in the world. Tough it may be, but the competitors will all be back next year.